Scientism defined here, he says we have to look briefly at some popular level expressions or presuppositions of scientism, but let's hear from the actual scholars who propose a definition. According to philosopher of science Tom Sorel, scientism is the belief that science, especially the natural sciences, is the most valuable part of human learning because it's the most authoritative or serious or beneficial. So it's authoritative, it's serious, and it's beneficial.
And therefore, it's the most valuable part of human learning.
Right, that's the utilitarian approach of science here. Other beliefs related to this one may also be regarded as scientific, e.g. the belief that science is the only valuable part of human learning. So you can believe that, but nothing else.
Right. And so he says, Sorel notes that what is crucial to scientism is not the identification of something as scientific or unscientific, but the thought that the scientific is much more valuable than the non-scientific, or the thought that the non-scientific is of negligible value, right? So in other words, when you have compelling knowledge claims, or at least competing knowledge claims from different sources, theology, ethics, philosophy, whatever, the scientific will always trump the non-scientific.
Right, exactly. So in scientism, therefore, science is the very paradigm of truth and rationality. If you look carefully at both of the quotations, you may discern two forms of scientism, both strong and weak. Strong scientism implies that something is true, rationally justified, or known if and only if it is a scientific claim that has been successfully tested, that is being used according to appropriate scientific methodology. There are no truths that can be known apart from appropriately certified scientific claims. That's the hard scientific approach.
So he calls this weak or strong scientism, who can know nothing, have no real knowledge outside of scientific claims. The knowledge isn't based on scientific methodology. It's not knowledge. Right? That's the idea here.
Right.
Only scientific claims bring knowledge. So that's strong scientism. What about weak scientism? It says weak scientism is still scientism, but notice it allows for more wiggle room, he tells us. So weak scientism acknowledges that truths apart from science, granting them some minimal rational status, even if they don't have scientific support. So yeah, there are other areas that may have some rational status at a minimal level that are outside of science. They're not really like science, right? He says, nevertheless, weak scientism still implies that science is by far the most authoritative sector of human knowing. And so Moreland tells us, for all practical purposes, weak scientism amounts to pretty much the same thing as strong scientism, right?
This is allowing math to come into the picture, I think. So the physics and chemists can do their work with numbers instead of everything else that they do.
So notice, weak scientism says there may be some other truths outside of science, but if there was a conflict between what science tells us and those other areas, science wins automatically, because that is what true knowledge.
Right. That's the gold standard there of knowledge, is if you can hold it. Right.